In the 1950s, they said tobacco was safe. In the 1960s, they said DDT was safe. From the 2000s, they say cell phones are safe. Today, they say 5G is safe.
Keeping them honest tonight, chilling new questions about cell phones and cancer, including this. If they're so safe, why do manufacturers recommend holding them more than a ½ inch away from your head while you talk? Who does that? I certainly have never done that. If they're so safe, why does one top neurologist who deals with brain tumors daily have this to say?
I don't think any mother, if they knew that there was a 2.5-fold increase in their kid developing brain cancer when they were 40 or 50, would allow their kids to use cell phones.
Now, some cancer survivors are calling for governments to take the drastic step of banning all mobile phone use for children under 16 and for the rest of us to text instead of call. Laura Sparks has this exclusive report.
My tumour was just here, hence there's a scar there.
About that big, just here.
In 2011, the World Health Organization classified radio frequency electromagnetic fields, including Wi-Fi and cell phone signals, as possibly carcinogenic to humans. Some scientists say radio frequency waves don't cause cancer, but more and more experts in the field are coming forward expressing concern. The American Academy of Pediatrics, along with the Government Accountability Office, or GAO, are urging the FCC to adopt up-to-date radiation standards. Current standards are 20 years old and don't account for a child's use. More than a dozen scientists and pediatric neurology experts from Harvard to the California Brain Tumor Association have written letters to MCPS, joining the parent organization in urging the school system to switch to wired technology.
But in the fine print of the World Health Organization's latest report, it states that heavy users of mobile phones, now that's people that use mobile phones for half an hour a day for more than 10 years, triple their risk of getting a brain tumour.
The red line going up with time in the United Kingdom, and these tumours are the ones where you would expect the maximum exposure from cell phone use in the temporal lobe and the frontal lobe of the brain. And that's very important.
We're beginning to see some evidence coming through in the tumor registry data. I think we will see increasing evidence over time. The country, Israel, for example, has already shown substantial increases in parotid gland tumors in their tumor registry data.
Here we take a drop of blood, put it on a slide, and view it under the microscope. The top slide shows my blood before I was exposed to Wi-Fi. The cells are round and free-floating in small, loose groupings. The slide at the bottom shows what happens to my blood when I spend 10 minutes exposed to Wi-Fi. Every cell on the slide is sticking together. This type of blood is unable to efficiently deliver oxygen and nutrients to cells and get rid of waste products produced by cells. And it's called rouleau formation. Dr. Stephen Sinatra, a world-renowned cardiologist, says that our blood should have the consistency of red wine. Instead, most of us have blood with the consistency of ketchup flowing through our veins. This is rouleau formation. Symptoms include headaches, fatigue, dizziness, difficulty concentrating, numbness, tingling and cold extremities, heart and blood pressure problems, and, in severe cases, heart attacks.
But the Ontario Secondary School Teachers Federation wants a moratorium on Wi-Fi in the Limestone School Board. The teacher union's president says there is a growing mountain of evidence that Wi-Fi can pose health risks, concerns that Andrea Loken is taking to school trustees.
There are thousands of published peer-reviewed papers that are indicating adverse health effects from Wi-Fi. And we are seeing an increasing awareness around this issue worldwide.
Loken says countries like France, Israel, and Italy are all taking steps to ban Wi-Fi in schools and daycares.
Why is the government not putting on the brakes? In 2015, the Federal Communication Commission made $45 billion selling a part of the wireless spectrum. The government didn't want to put a ban on tobacco sales because they were receiving a lot of money from tobacco taxes. The same seems to be the case with wireless.
Wireless radiation has biological effects, period. This is no longer a subject for debate when you look at PubMed and the peer-reviewed literature. These effects are seen in all life forms: plants, animals, insects, microbes. In humans, we have clear evidence of cancer now. There is no question. We have evidence of DNA damage, cardiomyopathy, which is the precursor of congestive heart failure, neuropsychiatric effects. So 5G is not a conversation about whether or not these biological effects exist. They clearly do. The closer you live to a cell tower, the higher your blood glucose. That is based on hemoglobin A1C measurements. So the idea with small cells of putting the cells closer to people's homes and bedrooms scientifically is very dangerous. And from an economic perspective, it's dangerous. And you may not know this. I was shocked to find this out. But the way you create a model of diabetes in rats in the lab is by exposing them to 2.4 gigahertz. And this is not for long-term exposure. What is our exposure in a day? It's not one cell phone. It's cell phones, it's multiple wireless networks, it's smart meters, it's cell towers. It's this sandwich, and it all adds up.
Please remember, we are electric beings. Our brain is electric. Our nervous system is electric. Our heart is electric. Our cells communicate electrically. So the question is not how come this technology and radiation can affect us. The question is how can it not affect us? Our young adults right now, our brain tumors, thyroid cancer, testis cancer, rectal cancer, everywhere we put our cell phones. Breast cancer. We suddenly have breast cancer in women who have no DNA predisposition to have breast tumor. And funny enough, they had a very odd distribution of their tumors. They usually resemble the shape of the cell phone, the way they used to put the cell phone in a bra. Reproductive harm. There is a significant decrease in the quality of sperm in male in the past 10 to 15 years. There are dozens and dozens of studies that show beyond any doubt what this radiation is doing to our sperm. For example, the previous chairman of the FCC is Tom Wheeler. He was the head of the Wireless Lobby Association for 14 years. The FCC is a capture agency. They probably conducted what I believe to be the biggest fraud on the public ever conducted.
Very important potential of 5G technology. It promises to bring us a new era of connectivity with internet speeds as much as 5 times faster than what we have today with much lower latency, and that's all a good thing. But 5G, as you well know, also uses higher frequency waves that don't travel as far and will rely on a network of hundreds of thousands, potentially millions of small cell sites. And the question then is, are there any health implications, any public safety implications to those additional sites that are likely to be located close to homes, schools, workplaces, and closer to the ground, correct? How much money has the industry committed to supporting additional independent research? I stress independent research. Is that independent research ongoing? Has any been completed? Where can consumers look for it? And we're talking about research on the biological effects of this new technology.
Thank you, Senator. I think, thank you for your focus on the issue. Safety is paramount, and as you alluded to, we rely on the expert agencies, we rely on the findings of the FDA and others as to the requirements to keep all of us safe. There are no industry-backed studies, to my knowledge right now. Happy to visit with you as to what opportunities you think there needs to be more studies, and we're always for more science. We also rely on what the scientists tell us.
So essentially, the answer to my question, how much money? Zero.
I can certainly follow up with you, Senator. To my knowledge, there's no active studies being backed by industry today.
I want to tackle the subject of insurance. You know that neither Lloyd's of London nor Swiss Re will underwrite liability policies for electromagnetic radiation because they think the health risk is too great.
Small cell antennas could be placed as close as every third hydro pole. Scientists from 42 countries are now warning their governments about the emerging health problems associated with wireless radiation. One advisor to the World Health Organization said there's enough evidence that if they were to re-evaluate radio frequency radiation,
it would be placed in class 1, i.e. a human carcinogen, and governments could not possibly ignore that.
So you're talking about serious effects to our skin and our nerves and venerate our skin, so you're talking about affecting our entire neurological system and exposing our eyes to military-grade wireless radiation, and our eyes have no natural defense against this. So you're talking about putting this in front of people's homes, forcing it into their rooms. This is absolutely absurd. We have video from the FCC proceedings with one of the 5G engineers saying themselves, look, we are forcing these directed beams into people's windows at levels that we do not allow in our labs, in our safety labs. This is absolutely absurd, and the FCC shrugged it off and said, this isn't an issue we need to be discussing today.
Okay, thank you.
Use my phone about 2 hours a day.
The area that it was here, and I mean, you put 2 and 2 together.
I just hope it's in my lifetime that phone companies are held accountable for this damage. I just would hate for people watching this right now in 10 years' time to go, far out, why didn't I take note? Why didn't I listen?